Hello, good evening, and welcome back, and Happy New Year! So it seems a shame to kick off the year with a story such as this, but I think it is very telling, and I know the idea is start off as you wish to go on, but I hope, I truly do, that this will be more of start off as you wish to avoid the mistakes of the past. So let us have this as the last mistake of 2020, and let us hope, with futile expectations, that this will be the end of it. As the Mail Online reports, viewers slam BBC for forcing politics into New Year's Eve light display that featured woke NHS tributes, Black Lives Matter fist salutes, which is also the same as feminist fist salutes, the colours of the European Union flag, and a climate change lecture by Sir David Attenborough, while no one sang Auld Lang Syne. And that is why, personally, in my family far tradition, we instead choose to go over to Jules Holland and his Hootenanny. And yes, Auld Lang Syne was sung with Jules Holland. So, more power to him with his little garden studio there with his guests, like Tom Jones being the most famous one, most likely. And also having Madness on, great ska band. That is my way of seeing in the new year instead of the British Broadcasting Corporation. But what exactly happened? Well, thousands of revellers tuned into BBC One, as I did briefly for the fireworks, to watch the highly anticipated pre-recorded light show. I love fireworks. Obviously, Lewis in the UK is the largest 5th of November firework display in the world, and I would have loved to have gone to it this year, or last year if you will, but of course couldn't do because of the coof. So I thought, okay, fine. I know that the firework display is supposed to be cancelled from Sadiq Khan, but you know, there's going to be something, so let's see what's going on. And just like the rest of you, I'm sure, were sorely disappointed in how they wish to portray it so unnecessarily. Can we not just celebrate the new year and, as the supposedly unbiased BBC, just say, hey, year's over, new year, new decade, let us all bring it in as we wish to, let us celebrate together in something which is apolitical, it's just fireworks and it's some music, it's Auld Lang Syne because that's bloody well traditional, let's enjoy it and let's see it in. Simple as that. Could they leave it to that? No, they couldn't. As they go on to say, outraged Britons slammed show as ridiculous after drones made the shape of a Black Lives Matter fist. Many said a bird which appeared in lights was in EU colours. On day Britain officially left the bloc. Yes, well, is London pleased to be leaving the EU? No, of course they're not. Then again, the EU is only blue and gold, so it's quite easy to use their colours. Coincidence? At this point, I'm not going to give them the benefit of the doubt. So no, I think it's quite clear that they did that on purpose. Especially when they picture a bird, and of course the US like to depict the eagle as a sign of freedom, as flying wherever they wish to, being on their own, and being, I suppose, the predator as well. That the eagle signifies freedom. The eagle has been used, of course, by other countries historically around the world as well. Germany did like to use it as well. But the idea is for freedom. So there's definite irony in using a bird in the shape of a commonly depicted eagle to try and then show, oh yeah, EU, we're still going to be with you. Well, we're fucking not though, are we? So viewers have slammed the BBC for forcing politics into London's controversial New Year's Eve light show after 300 drones made the shape of a Black Lives Matter fist and shone in EU colours over London skies. Thousands of relevants eager to bid farewell to a miserable 2020 turned into BBC One. That was your first mistake, to watch the highly anticipated pre-recorded display. But it didn't end there, because they said the show was ruined by politics after the drones made the shape of the BLM fist and a turtle with Africa on its shell during a climate change lecture by Sir David Attenborough. It wasn't just Africa. From what I saw at the time, it was supposed to be a rotating globe. It's just they focused on Africa because that's the main landmass if you wish to show the entirety of the globe. But nonetheless, yes, as soon as I saw the fists, I turned to my significant other and went, well, shit. That's what they seem to have gone with. And then Sir David Attenborough came on, like, for fuck's sake, can we not just enjoy the fireworks? Is that really too much to ask? Well, yes, apparently it is. And although it's dreadful to see the BBC choose to depict it in such a way, of course it has to be permitted by Sadiq Khan as well, I think it is good that they are making such terrible mistakes so frequently, so commonly, so often, that we can then say, I think even the normies are against you here, and therefore there is still time for us to turn the tide without things turning to shit. And as I mentioned with the Lever a couple of nights ago, that I think 2016 was really the moment when we voted for Brexit, we voted for Donald Trump. That was the time of which things could be avoided of being made worse. And yet, of course, how did the legacy media respond? Well, it was to say that, Donald Trump was, Drumpf, Cheeto bad, and Brexiteers evil, and xenophobic and racist, instead of trying to understand where people were coming from, that they decided to make things worse. And so with times like this, when the BBC's echo chamber leads them to believe that doing such an act is actually going to be acceptable, and then having this level of pushback, it's like, well, cool. Is that almost like breaking the fourth wall and then realising the mistake that you've made, and there's still time to change it without having to resort to violent revolution? Is there still hope for a peaceful resolution? And that's what I'm really, honestly, truly holding out for. But it does seem like they're not listening. And if they're not listening, we all know what happens next. But to go into more detail, the Fist, which became synonymous with the BLM movement this year, first appeared as spoken word artist George the Poet Mbanga read an extract of his poem Coronavirus, The Power of Collaboration. The writer, who turned down an order of the British Empire last year due to the pure evil of the British Empire, who can fuck off and all, read, "The future holds unexposed danger, but no stress. Humankind is no stranger to progress, and as we have proven, when we collaborate, progress follows fast." Wishful thinking, but very unreasonable and naive, but I think that pretty much sums it all up. Has the British Empire been pure evil? Obviously it has not. It has ended slavery, but maybe you think that ending slavery is also pure evil. I don't think you do, in which case you are simply uneducated. So saying the future holds unexposed danger, well, of course, but, that is a cost of freedom, but no stress. Well, no, there will definitely be stress because of unexposed danger. When it becomes exposed, there will be stress about it. Humankind is no stranger to progress. Well, I suppose that depends what you define as progress, seeing as the British Empire is pure evil and yet ended slavery. So you may want to reconsider that. And then, as we have proven, when we collaborate, progress follows fast. Well, that really depends on the culture, doesn't it? If it's British, then you've got Enlightenment values, in which case, yes, progress follows fast. But if you're talking about communism in the USSR or China, then that's not really progress, that's far more regression. If you're talking about academia in the West as well, then it's regression, because you're going back to segregation of different races, and you are just basing policies based on ethnicity and race instead of the individual. You are just disagreeing with Martin Luther King Jr. and saying, no, you're wrong, we're actually going to base things on race. I do not care about your dream. We're going to say that people are defined precisely based on their race, which does not sound like progression to me. But I suppose, who am I to say, seeing as you were offered an order of the British Empire, and you turned it down, you utter twat. So many also pointed out that the opening light and the first shape which appeared above the Millennium Dome a blue and yellow bird, was in European Union colours on the day Britain officially left the EU. Was this coincidence? No, I don't think so. So they go on to mention, oh, and there's the turtle for what it's worth. As you can see, that it's kind of got America on the left as well. So it is showing the globe, and it was rotating at the time. Focusing on Africa, maybe, but I don't really think so. Putting the NHS there, of course, not because of the NHS, but because it's just to put a point forward about the coup. They've then got several tweets, but they're mainly just saying, you know, it's ruined because of politics. Does this mean much? Not really. You could easily find tweets pointing out whatever you wish to. So, take it or leave it. None of them are verified, but of course they're not if they've got this kind of idea. So, again, it's not really worth anything. Then they've got to go all together, love together, hope together, and all that shit as well that they decided to post as well. Utter crap. It's exactly the kind of bullshit which you would expect from them. And then, of course, showing Black Lives Matter as well with their fists. They had, I believe, 4 or 5 fists as well at the same time in the sky. Just, it's painful. It really is. It is incredibly painful to see how amazing, as Jeremy Clarkson would say, this small rock in the Atlantic Ocean has become over the last millennium, really, that the United Kingdom has become a global player, despite being such a tiny island, or tiny collection of 7,000 odd islands, and yet it is still on the world stage. That is phenomenal. It is amazing that this country, with its Enlightenment values, must have done something right. And then it must have done something else right. And it must have done a few other things right in order to be a global power, despite being such a tiny island in comparison to the monoliths like Russia or America. And it's still a bigger power than Australia, which is ridiculous, considering it's about the same size as North America. And yet, we are. And so, to put all that behind us, to forget our past, is really doing us a great disservice. And I've said this many times before, and I really will again. But it is only Britain in the entire world that has such a rich history, that has acknowledged the failures of itself and the rest of the world, and then sought to change them for the betterment of everybody in the entire world. It is the only country in existence to have done so. And yes, it's easier to count the countries which have not been invaded and beaten by Britain in war than the countries who have not. But again, that is just a testament to the strength of this tiny rock in the Atlantic Ocean, and the power of our values that have been spread around the world, which have made lives better for everybody, except for totalitarian dictators. Like, as I said before, you have the Austrian painter leading Germany in the Second World War, that if it wasn't for Britain, then he would have had more success. And again, Germany is trying to do the same thing, just by different economical means. And yet again, Britain is the one putting a stop to it. So, why can we not celebrate that with our Tower Bridge fireworks, with it from the barge, with the Millennium Dome, with the London Eye? Why can we not celebrate that? The only place that they can try to celebrate such a thing is in the Isle of Scilly. As we will see with their photos further on, in their pub, they've got a couple of photos showing that as they are the only tier 1 place, they've got 3 pubs in the entirety of England which have been open tonight. because they're actually allowed to, and obviously they are enjoying themselves, because that is what you would expect from a new year. As we see here, the odds are silly. So good on them. 2,000 people, and it's the only part of England still in Tier 1. So good on you, and let's hope that the rest of us can enjoy such a new year soon. And I'm sure we've all been keeping things quiet, but I do hope that you've been able to see in the new year with the ones that you love. And of course, we all hope that the new year is better than the previous year, as we do every year. And I'm sure people are saying the same, particularly because of this year, but I will keep it generic. And I'll say that they hope the new year gives you new opportunities that you can capitalise on and make something worthwhile for yourself and those that you love. But as always, until next time, have a good one.